Yep, just the same old. Gonna go over my trades for the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday. Contrary to the previous video, I'm actually pretty proud of my trades for the last 2 days. Not just the trades that I took, but also the trades that I didn't take. And yeah, so let's just get right into it. So this was Thursday. Today was Friday. Um, so oopsie. Coming into Thursday, um, actually let me just go on my journal. Yeah, so coming into Thursday, basically we had new home sales at 9. So I'm in Central Time. So this would actually be like 10 a.m. But no, this news was at 9 for me. Market retested 50% of the large gap in the London session, left a total suit. Yeah, so if you look on the 4-hour chart, basically, this is how the chart looked on Thursday. Pre-market at well, it's after market, 8:40. Basically, we were talking about how like the range was compressing, moved lower, but then took the internal sell side and then filled the inefficiency, but then reversed higher. So the most logical thing to do was just to target opposing liquidity. And so, basically, on the 4-hour chart, I was saying I should be open to bullish setups. Took external SSL, filled, and then, yeah, so basically just what I just said. Um, However, one thing I did notice was that yesterday it took BSL. So Wednesday it took BSL. But is this enough? Is what I'm saying. Basically, it took the buy side here. But I'm saying, is this enough, or are we gonna take external BSL? And you know what? In hindsight, probably like makes more sense to like fully take external BSL because we took some major sell side here, or I would consider it major because it broke the range over the last few days. Yep. And this range was on pretty high volume as well. So I think that's pretty important. Um, yeah, so this is a 1 hour chart. Kind of same thing. But oh yeah, so price broke the downtrend. So the downtrend with the 50 MA was broken, confirmed with the gap up, and now it's getting some continuation off of that 50 MA. Yeah, 15-minute chart, kind of a more in-depth view of what it looked like. Right. So, there's a BPR left from the previous day. Um, London highs, Asia session. What was I thinking? Right. So, there was news at 9 a.m. If there was going to reversal, there was probably would be a reversal around this BPR. Yes. Um, right. Wrong version. Right. Okay. So, yeah. Let's go back to the hourly chart. Yeah, so the hourly chart and the 4-hour chart, basically what I was thinking was that, all right, if this is going to be a big bullish candle, I want to wait after news for like a manipulation wick lower, for a short. Like kind of like a short, which would either act as like a retest back down into this inefficiency, or a manipulation wick for a higher. Either way, it'd be non-committal. So I think a short move would have been reasonable to expect, especially since the long percentage was pretty high. And I was thinking, okay, maybe people are starting to regain confidence too quickly, because this long percentage was too high. Right. Antithesis, market just could just go higher. And then we're taking the previous weekly high, which would be around this level right here. Um, yeah, so market scenarios, easy thing to do is wait for, yeah, to move higher. Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is just target a move higher, because taking out SSL and reverse, so it's gonna target closing liquidity. Um, Yeah. Antithesis of this scenario would just be like the market is still in the rollover phase, and so you gotta watch out for like if it doesn't even break the highs and just starts to roll over, I think that'd be kind of worrying for quite a few people. Especially since like this was a gap up. And so I can imagine a few people are kind of long. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna push back on that because on like bigger gap ups like this, breaking like these downtrends, I would say there's actually quite a bit of people that are stuck short. And the reason being is because earlier, like in the last few days, the market tried to roll over and continue off with a nine, but it completely reversed that. Um, you know what? That's actually really interesting. I haven't really like considered that until I talked about it now because up until now I kind of have like a bearish bias because I don't think the downside is over yet. But I think a lot of people were got trapped in the shorts on Monday when it tried to continue off the nine. That's actually really interesting. Yeah. All right. Uh, right. So market is moving higher. So this is A57. Market is moving higher, but long percentage isn't as high as I thought. It's hovering around low 70s with spikes higher on the bullish impulses. Um, yeah, so I was saying this move could last for quite a while because like usually on these like up moves that are like usually failures, like the percentage is so high. It's so high. It's like 70s, um, maybe even greater than that. And like so whenever it's so one-sided like that, it makes you think that there's not a lot of participation on both sides, which is kind of worrying if you want a sustained trend. So like in my eyes, a sustained trend or like a healthy trend would be like when the volt ratio is around like three, which is like both buyers and sellers are fighting back and forth. And basically like on a good like upward trend day, like sellers aren't willing to admit defeat. And so how do you keep them enticed? Is that, you trend higher slowly and slowly and slowly without any without any blow off moves to really stop them out, just like these small stop outs, like slowly up and down, up and down, up and down, stair stepping your way up. um I think these are like the strongest trend days that could really really hurt these sellers, um and could really last a while. And so at this point I was thinking, all right, maybe this wasn't um as strong of a reversal day as I thought. So at 8:59 right before the news, um, I was saying I can expect a wick lower into some of the inefficiencies left by these hourly candles, but the better move now is to just target BSL, right? And so that's actually what ended up happening. Um, if I go on the chart, that was here. So I have it like deleted, but yeah. So it just ended up grinding up for the rest of the day, and this is a classic uptrend day for stair stepping. One of my setups. So the trade that I actually took for this day, I waited all the way until 2nd a.m. macro. Um, yeah, I think it was here. Yeah. So there was this previously high right here. Um, Basically, like 1st AM macro, there wasn't really a good like entry. There was like a good entry here for a long because this was a 5 minute BISI on the higher time frame for a continuation. The only thing is I wasn't really convinced of the bullish move at this point um yet, right? It didn't really break any like major highs, so I wasn't really convinced yet. Um, But yeah, afterwards, I waited to the 2nd AM macro to take the trade. Um, and I think I took, yeah, so my first trade, I'm not sure if I took it on this account. Maybe I took it on my Apexes, but um, basically I tried to short this move here. Um, the reason being is that this was like around the 2nd AM macro. And if price was gonna break, it was gonna break here. But I'm looking back at it now, and it didn't really have um any like solid setup. Like if I really ask myself, am I truly satisfied with this market structure shift? Not really. And the trend is so strong. I guess I was just trying to like catch like a quick short move. I was being a little stubborn. But honestly, like what I should have like realized was that like this is not like the typical signs. Like the tilt wasn't really showing me that people were like overly bullish, which is worrying if you're trying to catch a short, um, or like a counter trend short. Yeah. So I remember taking a short here, and I got stopped out. I'm not sure if I took it on this account, but I definitely took it on Apex's. And then so the second trade was this trade right here. So basically, um, after I got stopped out here, I was like, all right, um, I think that the next move lower, like I think you should fade all the moves, um, like the promising shorts, um, because I think the draw is ultimately higher, especially at this point. Um, it broke the highs, and so I was thinking, okay, a second sweep of liquidity and targeting like higher towards like previous weekly high. And so that's what I did. So right at this move right here, um, basically this would be like a common short setup where price had a displacement and then rallied back above the 21 and then failed the 21 to continue lower. However, at this point, I thought, like, all right, you know what? If I was a short, I probably would take this trade, but instead I'm going to fade it. So I faded this trade just to new highs. And yeah, that was the only trade that I took. Well, on this account, but on Apex, I took the two trades. But yeah, I'm kind of proud about that. The reason being is that like I had the completely wrong bias, right? But I didn't really take any like dumb like throwaway trades. I was pretty disciplined in like waiting for like a good setup. Um, this at the time was kind of a good setup, but looking at it now, it's not really a good setup because I'm not really satisfied with this and the market conditions. Um, aren't really that favorable. Obviously, like all of it's in hindsight. Like for me, what I was thinking was that okay, it swept this liquidity here. Um, previously high was swept, and then it kind of did a, a little market structure shift here, and then taking a short at this fair value gap, but got faded. So the second one I just faded that instead. So that was Thursday. That's all the trades for Thursday, and it ended up just like churning for the rest of the day. And so like this is what I'm talking about, where the trend can last for like a long time because it's just keeping these buyers and sellers enticed because nobody's getting like a blow off move. Um, yeah. So coming into Friday, um, the Michigan sentiment was at 9. And so I kind of was kind of interested in how the weekly candle is going to close, right? So I put on the weekly chart and basically this is the Bollinger Band where sorry. Um price price like kind of broke past the lower Bollinger Band and now it's reversing higher. Um but it's seeing resistance at the 9. So what I'm expecting is like, some resistance at the 9. Um, basically, the market leaves like a smaller rejection wick today to be retested next week. And the reason why I kind of like this trade is because it's like less committal if that scenario plays out. Because the market could either just, continue higher next week or retest it to use as a manipulation wick for a bearish candle. Um, antithesis would just be it could just push past all the way to the 21 SMA. And this is actually like a more likely scenario because in past instances, it just pushed past all the way back to the 21 SMA, especially when it's like, it's at the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. It usually likes to snap back to the middle. Um, yeah, so that's what I was saying. It kind of is a more likely scenario. However, the 21 SMA move would take much longer. So I think I can still expect a rejection at the 9 in the short term, which would be today. Um, yeah, and so this was a daily chart at around prior to market open. Um, Basically, it's pushing past the 21 after failing the 9 around here, breaking above previous week high. Yeah, so even pre-market, it already broke previous weekly high and previous swing high. So what I was expecting, yeah, so this is what I was expecting. So maybe like one more day higher into this Bollinger Band. I don't think it would, go all the way to like the the upper end of the Bollinger Bands. But maybe like, 1 or 2 days higher around this range for like a rollover. I didn't think it was gonna happen today, but I kind of was coming into the day with a bearish bias, if I'm gonna be honest with myself. Um, yeah. So right here, several days above the 21 SMA, looks like it wants to reject back to 21 SMA soon. However, it can definitely go higher, so we need to wait for a turn on the lower time frame. It might take a few tries. Yeah, so this was exactly what I was talking about earlier, where this can just continue higher for like several days before having an actual turn. So you don't want to short too early. And if you were to try to take a short, you definitely gotta wait for a turn on the lower time frame at least, right? And so this was a 4 hour chart. Um, Took external BSL and reversed. Um, if there's no continuation, I think the easiest move to expect is just rebalancing inefficiencies and targeting internal sell side liquidity. 1 hour chart is more pronounced. You see like a tiny market structure shift around here. But let's see if this actually gets respected or disrespected. And yeah, as you can see here, on the 15-minute chart where like the levels are marked out and everything, um, yeah, there's definitely like a clear like market structure shift. Not high resistance liquidity runs. You see, yeah. So rebalancing inefficiencies is definitely like the low hanging fruit. It's like the most obvious setup. Um, and then like maybe like retesting it as a manipulation wick for an ultimate move higher. Um, but looking back on it in hindsight, what I do have to say is that a lot of these like people that are trying to short along this move higher, there wasn't really like a blow off move. And so coming in since today, where like the market isn't really like, like it's still around like the level that it ended up at yesterday. So I think people are still trying to short this move, especially if they see like a pre-market move like this, where it's like it's not too drastic where people start trying to fade it, but it's not, too like non-committal either. It's definitely like showing some signs. So like if let's say like if I was a desperate short, I would definitely see this setup and like be pretty convinced that all right, let me try to take a short. Yeah. So then zooming in closer, I saw like a 15-minute order block here, which is in the premium of this displacement leg, um, or this PD array. And yeah, so what I was thinking was there's oh yeah, so there's external buy side here, London lows, Asia lows, and a premium order block. So there's a high chance that I'm at market open, price rallies to this level, um, and then at that point, I think this would be like an inflection point where price would either decide whether to roll over or continue higher. And then so some notes, Google pump after earnings. Um, these names are weak while the market is pumping. They'd be the good short targets. So this is like more like idiosyncratic trading, not really the broad market, but yeah. Um, so yeah, this was at 844. So price moved back to the area. Oh, also, there was news at 9, right? So I wasn't really trying to trade before that. Yeah, so price moved back into the resistance area and got rejected. Maybe a breakout retest short on the high time frames. Basically, what I was thinking was that, all right, so this was kind of ranging, um, broke out and now retesting and maybe want to continue lower. One thing I was a little bit worried about was that, this is like accumulation. I didn't really see any manipulation before a distribution, right? So maybe this is a manipulation leg, which, later on we will see that it actually is a manipulation leg. Yeah. So news at 9, maybe a good entry after news. Basically, what I was thinking was that, all right, maybe it actually like rallies up and like you know eats more into this range after news for like a short after like a market structure shift. Um, but one thing I was also like keeping in mind was that price can definitely displace lower before news. But like at this point, what I was saying was, all right, so if price does decide to displace, um, it could definitely displace below these lows even. But one thing I do know is that there's like there's an entry like there's a target here at this wick test, which was like the previous day high. I know the 2 day previous day high, and then like the 50% fib with the 1 hour BISI. Um, yeah, so I think there's definitely like some lower sell side targets, right? So what I was thinking, okay, price can definitely displace all the way to these like past these stacked lows, but it could still give us a good entry for a continuation after news. So that's what I was waiting for. Thesis, look for names with relative weakness for short. Oh, this is completely different. But as for market scenarios, basically, I think my price can rally into the order block, short entry afterwards. So yeah, it's basically what I'm saying. Oh, also this is pretty, I'm pretty proud that I said this, where like the short entry might not even show in the first AM macro, probably in the second AM. Because like if price does displace here, um, probably wants to like set up later on, or yeah, probably set up later on for like a short continuation entry, or if it like eats into this move and moves higher, it's gonna definitely take some time before it kind of reverses and like set up a market structure shift. Yeah. Um, where was I at? Uh, Yes. Oh, also at the time, the 1 hour Cibi was looking like it was getting respected. So the 1 hour Cibi here, it looked like it was gonna get respected. So I was just saying, let's just wait till after moves for entry. Antithesis was that minimum continuation lower, price just rallies higher, and oh, also the short percentage was really high. I guess people are still trying to short this market, especially at the trend move higher yesterday. I noticed many people trying to fade the trend move higher yesterday and got killed. Thus, I should be very careful about short setup today and let people get manipulated out of the positions first before trying to take a short. Yeah, so what I was realizing was that all right, there's a shitload of people trying to short this market, and I think people are like enticed by this easy, like super clear, too obvious short. On this is what I like to call it. It looks too obvious. Um, Sometimes the low hanging fruit is like the target, but especially given the context of yesterday where so many people were trying to short and they were getting killed, and like probably people coming in today feeling like a little revenge trading a little bit, um and being sore losers. So they're still trying to short these moves, especially since these stacked highs, these stacked lows look so alluring. Yeah, so I got a screenshot of it here. Like, look at this short percentage: 70% on ES, 70% on NQ, and the market hasn't even taken any lows yet. Um, yeah, so people are definitely front running this, and I think, all right, you know what? Now I should definitely wait until after news because like there's not a good chance that this move continues, right? Um, yeah, what I was saying. Um, Feels like everyone trying to short this move all day yesterday, and now they're trying to short it again because pre-market session looked bearish. Exactly. This is exactly what I was thinking. Um, Everyone was trying to short this move yesterday, the move higher yesterday, and like that's why the short percentage was like kind of high, even though the market was rallying higher. Um, yeah, so like that's how a trend is still strong is when both sides are playing, but one side is getting killed. Um, yeah, and same thing here. People like people are still trying to short this, but all it was just bulls were just taking a rest. Like they were just like on holiday. They, and bears were struggling to even push this thing lower. So oh, also the bears were looking kind of desperate because they were biting at anything they were getting. So like this, pre-market bearish move that was honestly like it was just a consolidation, like a consolidation break at the end of the consolidation for a move higher. Um, and yeah, so um, what I was saying was that, this is making me reconsider my bias. Honestly, I think another continuation day higher is likely. However, I still think that a quick bearish trade to trap shorts and create a manipulation wick higher would also make sense. Yeah, so I definitely agree with myself, my past self. Basically, I think price could have done, either two things, right? It could, go lower for like a little bear trap for a move higher, or just continue higher here. And I think the more painful scenario would just be what it did today, where it just kind of dribbled higher, because giving the Bears like any like move lower would cash them out, and then it wouldn't like create like all this emotion in the market. So yeah, I think this move was kind of efficient by the market, if I do say so myself. Yep, same thing was here. Just best thing to do is just wait till after news for an entry. So this was pre-news. Yeah, and so I'm proud of. Let's go into my levels. Yeah, so I'm proud of what I did, and all the analysis that I did, because honestly, like, you know, I was pretty enticed. Like, if I didn't do all the due diligence that I did prior, I probably would have taken this short, um, and kind of been pretty impulsive. But it kept me out of a lot of trouble because, like, okay, right here, if price comes like close to like these levels, I kind of find these like shorts enticing. But it didn't even take any like sell side levels. And knowing myself, I probably would have wanted to target these sell side levels. And so I probably would have been really unsatisfied with like the just taking like these internal sell side. So most likely would have been stopped out for a loss, or like at the very best a break even. I definitely wouldn't have taken partials. So yeah, it kept me out of trouble here because I didn't see what I want, even though it looked very close to what I want. If it's not what I want, um, don't take it, right? Um, and then this move right here, this move was so hard to keep myself out of, because it's right after the first AM macro, and um I'm not gonna lie, usually when I enter right after like macros like 9:20-ish, or 10:20-ish, 10:25, like those times aren't the best, and usually they're like fake setups. Um yeah, so they're usually fake setups. So um I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna enter here. I'm gonna like, be disciplined. I'm gonna, like wait for like a true setup, like what I actually see before I take the trade. I'm not gonna like, jump the gun, right? And I'm really proud of myself because I know, if I didn't do all the due diligence that I did, I probably would have like entered in like short somewhere around this level. Um, yeah. And who knows, and maybe I would have gotten myself into more trouble by adding somewhere along the way, like let's say like like this 9 MA. That would have been pretty bad. So I'm glad I stayed out of trouble with that one. Um, and yeah, yeah, didn't really see what I wanted to see, even though this looked very very alluring. Especially when it was like at these levels, I was like, man, I'm so like I really want to get in, but I'm gonna try my best to be disciplined. So I'm really proud of myself by doing that. And also like what kind of helped me like stay out of this was that this is definitely a BPR here. So price usually likes to retest BPRs, especially when it's in a range like this, right? So I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure price has like a tendency to retest BPR, so I might get an entry at the second AM macro. So second AM macro came, and so I took a short at this. I think it was like yeah, right here. This 950 candle. Um, yeah. So here's the thing. Price was at this BPR. I was expecting to move lower. Price got kind of rallied into my like liquidity level. Um, displaced past it. Now coming back into it. There wasn't really like a good market structure shift that I really wanted to see. Um, but I took the trade anyways, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, this trade can like I've seen this trade work out before. I don't know the probabilities of it, but I've seen this trade work out before. And so I'm not gonna like, beat myself up too hard for taking this trade. Um, and I'm kind of proud that like I like managed my stop really well. Um, yeah, so I'm not gonna beat myself up too hard for taking that trade. The only pushback that I do have was that if I'm honestly like asking myself here, like, is this like a true market structure shift that I truly want to see whenever I'm taking like a reversal trade? The answer is no. Like look at this strong bullish impulse. And like with this like consolidation here, there's a very low chance that like price just continues lower just off of this. Um, yeah, like unless there's like, major news or something like that, there's not really like a high chance. And so, I think if this trade were to occur like in the first AM macro, all right, there's definitely like a higher probability. But in the second AM macro, um, you probably want to take more sure like setups where there's like more clear market structure shifts and whatnot. So yeah, that's another pushback that I have with this trade. But honestly, I don't really blame myself for taking this trade. I was, I was pretty patient for the the beginning of the day and everything like that. So I don't really blame myself for taking this trade. Um, I took one more trade though. I think it was here. Yeah, so it was here. So basically, this was at the end of the second AM macro, a little bit past that. And so, man, I'm not gonna lie, this trade, um, like it's kind of the same thing. Like, there was like it took more liquidity than like it, took this high. So it's kind of like a market structure shift on a very, very, very micro scale. So I took it when not, no, I don't think so. I don't think I took it on the retracement back into the fair value gap. Um, I took it a little earlier than that, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I just wanted to take the short because I thought this move lower, taking out these stacked lows and these lows right here. I thought this was very attractive. Um, yeah, so I took the short. Um, but it's kind of the same thing, right? This trade was a little worse than this because it was outside of macro. Um, yeah, well, and also it's a Friday as well. Um, yeah, like also I could have gotten a better entry. Um, yeah. So if I like kind of waited for the retracement back into the fair value gap and waited for like a candle to continue lower, this would have like saved me from even entering the trade because then at this point I wouldn't be interested in the trade anymore, given the strength. Yeah. Also for the first trade, the better entry would have been here. Basically, like this is when it created like a first fair value gap, displaced, and then got rejected. So an entry here, I'm not. If I took this entry, honestly, I wouldn't really blame myself. I think this is a valid stop out. But no, I took this entry. Not really what I wanted to see. Uh, yeah, like the market shift wasn't there yet, so shouldn't really have taken this entry and this one too. But that's that. Um, yeah, and so uh, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty bit desperate. Like I was even waiting for like the 11 a.m. macro, like the 3 a.m. macro. Um, yeah, but I didn't really take the trade here. I was kind of more patient with it. Um, like at this point, when I saw this, I was like, kind of annoyed, but price didn't ended up like didn't even displace anyways. Um, yeah, I did take one more trade. Um, and it was here. So basically, after all this mumbo jumbo, price broke past the order block, continued higher, and broke these highs, took more buy side. I was like, dang, all right. Um, that's really interesting. And so this is kind of like a very like micro setup that I have. It's kind of like a scalp where basically after like a blow off move like this and a displacement, a strong displacement, uh, any backside, I'm not expecting like a continuation. Like I'm not expecting this. Even this right here is kind of like rare. Um, well, actually not that rare because it didn't take any buy side. But yeah, this move right here, I think either take all like a lot of buy side and displace like adequately higher. Once I saw this displacement, I was like, all right, you know what? There's a high chance of a liquidation break. A lot of people are most likely long here. Um, because there's literally no stop out. I'm pretty sure this would have trended to five. Yep. Yeah, so definitely trended to five all the way up here. Definitely trended to nine. Yep. So I was like, all right, there's a lot of people long here. Once this short happened, I'm pretty sure people are gonna try to buy up at this 21 SMA, but usually after this blow off, price doesn't really get supported off of this 21 SMA. So I entered a short here. And then um halfway through it, I was like, all right, you know what? The risk is like so tight because literally, because like once price like um displaced off of here, I was like, all right, you know what? Like price, if it breaks this level, is most likely not gonna continue higher. Um, Oh no, if it breaks the level, it's not going to go lower, right? It's going to have a continuation like higher and most likely target the new highs. So I was like, all right, I can add to my position and just literally put my stop right above here. That's literally what I did. However, as you can see later on, it's a pretty heavy add, and so not sure, not sure how good that decision is in hindsight. But yeah, let's just get right into the trades. Um, Yep. Let's get into it. Right. So let's start off with Thursday actually. Where's Thursday? Oh, this is Thursday. Yep. So this was yeah, so yeah, it was only the only trade that I took on Thursday, but I did take this short right here on my Apex accounts. So yeah. Yeah, just an entry here. It wasn't at the bottom, it was like around here. Yeah, like 143-ish. Um I'd say pretty good entry. Put my stop below here. Targeting the new highs. Got around 40 points, a little bit over 40 points. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I got exactly what I was looking for. Basically, like fading like any promising shorts off of this 2nd AM macro, and yeah, can't really complain about that. I'm glad that I didn't take any like stupid short trades here along the way. I let price displace, and yeah. Um, Yeah, same thing with this, a little bit premature entry. Didn't really see like a market structure shift that I really wanted to see. And same thing here. Like if I was careful, if I was more disciplined, I probably would have only taken one trade here and saved myself from this loser. Um, and yeah, that would have been a pretty good like trade. I would say like even though I would have ended the session like red, um if I had that discipline, like I'm proud of that. Like I'm fine with taking that loss. It's fine with me. It's a cost of doing business. Um and yeah, so second trade. All right, this is kind of crazy. Yeah, so took the short here, then added 10, which is really crazy looking back on it now. Yeah, Uh, because I was already in drawdown from the two losing trades that I had earlier. So if I took a loss on these, like it would have been like a pretty red day for me and a pretty red week for me. I'm not gonna lie. So not a good position to put myself in. In hindsight, I'm gonna be completely honest. It was not a good position to put myself in. Um, but yeah, um, price just immediately displaced lower a few minutes afterwards, and I didn't even have time to take to like move my profit target. Like usually when like these like liquidation breaks happen, I kind of want to like let it move for as long as it can, and take profits along the way. But it just stopped me out immediately. or it took me out of profit immediately. And yeah, that's that. I mean, I'm happy with what I got. This is really lucky. I'm not gonna like. Well, the analysis was there. The only thing that was lucky was that price could have just very easily, moved like a lot higher and then continue lower. That would have really, fucked me. I'm not gonna lie. Um, yeah. So in the future, maybe not add this aggressively, right? Maybe like adding like two, maybe even three, right? Two or three, you know, because I could keep my stop so tight that it's kind of worth it. The only pushback that I have was that I was in drawdown, right? So taking a loss on like added position size would have definitely like made this a pretty bad day, in terms of P&L. Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of like my trades for the last 2 days, and yeah, yeah. After like a abysmal day on Tuesday, somehow I ended this week pretty good in terms of my payouts. Got my payout uh yesterday, and yeah, can't really complain about that. Um, Pretty proud of my routine, my discipline. Um, but there is still chinks in the armor. So yeah, that's that. Um, as for as for next week and how I can improve my trades, basically, keep on being as selective as I am being, waiting for these macro times, because the macro times are truly where like you get like the best entries. I'm not gonna lie. Um, yeah, so keeping my entries within macro times, being much more selective with them, um, and kind of being dynamic with my bias. Like I'm pretty proud of like how I'm able to like switch my bias even when I'm wrong. Because I would say on these 2 days, I'm completely wrong on my bias. Because I'm trying to short the market, but what I failed to keep into account, and I'm only really realizing this in hindsight. So like I'm not trying to like say anything crazy, but um I'm really realizing this in hindsight where, you know, price failed to move lower, especially on Monday. So like you can kind of expect the trap shorts here to get ran, especially to opposing liquidity, after it took out this external sell side and fill in some inefficiencies. Like it's kind of like a pretty good setup for the bulls. I just didn't want to long too quickly, and I think that has to do with like some inner bias for me, kind of like pain avoidance, because there's like a lot of names on the a lot of stock names that I kind of want to want to go lower first. I don't want them to move higher too quickly. Yeah, so that's like a little bit of bias on my part, completely unrelated to futures trading. Yeah, that's just me being honest, um, being aware with that. And yeah, so kind of continue to be dynamic with my bias. Let's see how the weekly chart closes. Oh, the weekly chart is strong. And yeah, um, with that being said, though, I I see two scenarios. Like, actually, the most likely scenario that I see is a rejection earlier into the week, maybe retest this previous week. Um, Back down to 21 SMA, and then whatever the market does from there, it can do. It's also NFP week next week, I believe. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we get next week.